Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Going Inside Live. My name's John Clarke. I'm a therapist, and I also like to help other therapists. So each week we've been doing this where I come on and answer questions that have been either pre-submitted and or questions that you all submit here live on the stream. So if you are here live, go ahead and jump into the comments and ask me your questions there. In the meantime, I'll get started with the first question. This is coming from Ashley. Ashley says, how do we heal a part for a client who is so entrenched in a core belief of being not deserving to allow her to feel deserving if joy and value and worth? Yeah, this is the kind of $1,000,000 question. And if I were to answer it succinctly, I would just say, in a way, the ultimate goal is to connect the part back to self, or to connect the part to self for the first time ever, potentially. Um, on the other hand, parts that carry these beliefs and these burdens, they need to at some point be unburdened through the IFS unburdening sequence or the healing steps. These steps include a portion where you're going to help that part to kind of unload the burden, to unload this heavy core belief, and to potentially to have the option of replacing it with something. So that's ultimately going to be the thing to help this part, going through the unburdening sequence, and then ultimately attaching the part to self. Parts heal in the loving connection of self. So in a way, that's the ultimate goal. It's a good question. Okay. This question comes from Olive. The question is age-old question. How do you keep notes when doing this work, especially with clients with many parts? I want to be able to see the full system as well as detailed notes on each. To the second part of your question, I don't think you'll ever see the full system. According to Dick Schwartz, we have many, many parts, dozens of parts, 30, 40, 50 parts, who knows? And so you'll probably never get to know them all, and that's okay. We tend to get to know the parts that are kind of the key players, and in our case as therapists, the parts that are kind of driving the symptoms of the client's life. In other words, driving the pathology. But that being said, it can be a lot to keep up with. So what I do is a very basic parts map. I keep my notes on an iPad so I can just have this, in session. And I have like a journaling app or whatever, like a notebook app where I can journal freely. And when we are working with a part, I just write down either what the part wants to be called or something to indicate what the part is, a word about the part, and then I put a circle around it. And if there's other parts that are kind of in that cluster, I might put those with a circle around them in a similar area of the sheet. And then might draw some lines or take some notes around that, or might jot down the age of the part or what kind of part it is, etc. So doing something like that is great. And also you can share that with the client, or you can encourage the client to do some basic parts mapping of their own. So a notebook or whatever, where they're kind of sketching out the parts that they're getting to know. So yeah, basic parts mapping is going to help. And then I use that basic parts map, in each session to kind of reference, and we add to it. And then my kind of session notes are on a separate page, if that makes sense. As therapists, we hold space for so many, but who's holding space for us? If you're craving deeper healing and more powerful tools for your clients, I want to invite you to my free webinar on internal family systems therapy. IFS changed my life and the way I practice. It helped me move through burnout, reconnect with my authentic self, and show up more fully for my clients and for myself. In this webinar, I'm going to walk you through what IFS is and why it works, a simple tool that you can use right away, and how to bring this work into your practice, even if you're just beginning. This is for therapists ready to go deeper. Join us now with the link in the description. A few more questions here, and then we're also going to have Let's see. We have the opportunity to answer some live questions. So if you are here live, go ahead and ask your questions in the chat. If you want to come on the screen live with me and ask questions or get some free consultation about cases or whatever, that's also an option. Let me know in the chat and I can send you the link. This is a question from Devin. So this is a follow-up, and I'm going to read the full question that we got here to the side. Devin says, same client I brought up a couple weeks ago. I'd love to do this live, but have to drive my son to the airport. My question, this client who presents in dorsal collapse state, emotional shutdown, but also reports persistent nausea, digestive issues. I think she's in a traumatic response shutdown of fawn or freeze. She's had no evident access to self, and what is present is what seems to be a fierce protector who informs her to stay quiet, do not stand up for herself, because it is useless and only bad things will happen if you do. She's emotionally bullied by her adult children and fiercely believes unless someone speaks up for her, nothing will change. Can you demonstrate how you would move into direct access with a protector in this way? It feels like a massive brick wall. Yes, that's my part mirroring her state of helplessness. Her protector has my part convinced as well. So maybe my question is how to work with my part in order to stay in self. Yeah, well, all good questions and a very common situation to find yourself in. You have a part that carries a lot of hopelessness and a part that's kind of saying, what's the use? The way you're going to shift into direct access in general is just you ask permission to speak to the part. And so you'd say, hey, client, so you're aware of this part that says, what's the use? Nothing's going to change, etc. And then the client, agrees that they have limited access to self energy. If that's the case, then you switch into direct access and you say, client, I know this is going to sound kind of weird. Would it be okay if I speak to the part directly? In fact, can you ask that part if it's willing to speak to me directly? Okay. And if the answer is yes, then I transition into direct access. So I'm going to ask that part to fully come forward, to basically fully blend with you, to fully become you so that I can speak with it directly. And so then you might just say, okay, am I speaking to the part? Or maybe the part has a name or whatever. Am I speaking to the part? And the part says yes. And then I'm basically going to operate from the perspective of my 6Fs, but just directly with the part instead of going through the client to ask the questions to the part. So getting to know you, what do you do? What's your role? How did you get it? Do you like your role? Is there anything you would change about it? What do you fear would happen if you didn't do this role? How old are you? How old do you think the client is? Etc. Talking about the trust or lack thereof of the client, the client's self. So that's kind of how you're going to do it, is you're going to shift into that direct access. Now, you mentioned possibly being blended with one of your own parts. If that's the case, you don't want to do direct access. Then your job is to unblend enough, because when you're doing direct access, you're basically lending the client your self energy. So if you notice you're pretty blended, you don't want to move forward with the direct access. Then your job is to work with that part of your own that is activated by their hopeless part. And you want to work with that part and kind of exercise the 6Fs on your own, either kind of in session as much as you can, being with that part, asking it for space, etc., asking it if it's willing to let you lead. And if not, you might just do something else for that session. You might not be able to do IFS safely if you're too blended, and that's fine and understandable, and you can always come back to it. There's lots of other stuff you can do. So the key is, you don't want to force it. And then, of course, bring this work of your own to your own IFS therapist. Notice this part that's coming up and get some extra help with it. I hope that helps. I would just say slow everything down. You have a client with some pretty intense trauma responses, um, a number of different reactions, shut down, fawn, freeze. So you just want to go slow. I mean, those are all like yellow lights from the nervous system saying slow down, not so fast. So you just want to honor those and um, adjust your tempo accordingly. Yeah, live question here from self-led coaching who says, when do you decide insight is not working and decide to use direct access? Yeah, it's a great question. So generally when you encounter a part and then you're going to ask the client, how you feeling toward the part? And if they say not good, pissed off, annoyed, whatever, then they're blending with another part. Then you try to help them unblend from that part. And if they can't, they absolutely can't, you might shift into direct access. So basically, you shift into direct access again when the client has limited or no access to self energy. Yeah. And again, it'll be weird. It'll be weird at first, and then it'll be normal. So at some point, you just got to get your feet wet and try it. Another live question here. Thanks for the live question. Question is, how young do you feel comfortable doing parts work with? I have a 13-year-old with which we are able to identify their parts, but the protectors allow very little access to the exile. Yeah, I think it's great that you're doing it. I think, very young kids, way younger than 13, can very much do IFS. Obviously, you want to adapt it to them in an age appropriate way, and you want to involve things like art and play and movement and stuff like that, but or externalizing parts with action figures or whatever. But very easy for many children to conceptualize different parts of themselves. So that can be quite natural for them. Um, I just want to comment something about this question. You probably already know this, but you know, in the question you said, we're able to identify their parts, but the protectors allow very little access to the exile. That just kind of means the protectors are doing what they're designed to do, right? The goal of IFS is not to get to the exiles. If you're not getting to the exiles, it doesn't mean you're not doing IFS or not doing good work. Maybe you never get to the exiles. Maybe that doesn't need to happen. I don't know. Um, you are doing IFS, quote unquote, um, just by holding the frame of IFS and seeing them as parts and inviting them to get to know the parts, and in this case, the protectors. So you work with the protectors for as long as you need to, maybe forever. You know, we don't always have to get to the exiles. So just don't fall into that trap. Um, if you feel like you need to progress the session, you're blended with a part, right? Parts have agendas, self does not. So you may meet an exile naturally if you're doing good work and really honoring the protectors and working uh, without an agenda with the protectors. The system will naturally open and progress. So that's the paradox, is basically like, don't try. And if you don't try, then you may get more, quote, progress. But we never want to come in with the energy of like, I'm trying to kind of get past the protectors. What's in the way is the way, right? So you just want to really work with those protectors for as long as you need to. Yeah. Okay, another question about the direct access. The question is, how do you move into explicit direct access with clients without it feeling clunky? Well, like all things, they're going to feel clunky before they feel smooth. And so um, it's going to feel clunky and it's going to feel as weird as like, hey, I know this sounds weird. Could I talk directly to the part? And they're like, I guess. Okay. So let me know when that part is here. Or can that part hear me? Or am I speaking directly to the part now? So it's going to be weird. It's going to be clunky. And then at some point it'll feel a little more smooth and natural. Yeah, it's a good question. Um, a lot of people are naturally like a little, hesitant about direct access because again, it is kind of strange, but it's really not something to be too worried about. Yeah, give it a try, or give it a try doing some practice with like a friend or another coach or therapist or something. Lily says, "Thank you." Yeah, you're very welcome. Hopefully that helped. Um, yeah, great. I'm here for more questions, so keep them coming, and I'll go for as long as you all have questions. Quick plug for our program: if you are interested in IFS, you want to do more of this work and deepen your work, then my Pathways to Self program might be of interest to you. It's an online community of therapists and coaches. You get access to all my courses, my IFS courses, my demonstrations, my meditations, and then a weekly consult call with me live on Zoom where you be on camera with a small group of other practitioners. So we have founders pricing still available right now for that program, but that'll be going away soon. So if you want to give it a try, come in. You can always leave after a month. There's no commitment after that, but if you want more help, you want to deepen your work, then definitely jump into the program. And I'd love to have you. It's johnclarketherapy.com/pathways to join. Next question is, what are some resources you have used to enhance your learning of IFS? Certainly the age old going to your own IFS therapist has helped me a ton. I've worked with a IFS therapist for a while, and she was great. And you're learning your own system because your parts are likely to come up during session in your work, and you are aware of what the therapist is doing. So you're learning the model by receiving it, and you're also observing the model in real time. So that's always going to be great. Besides that, formal training where you're getting some supervision consultation is great, whether it's an institute training or stepping stones where I still do some teaching, or joining my Pathways program where you have weekly consultation with me and access to good materials. So I think some sort of live component is essential. Early on, I also went to Sedona, Arizona to train with Frank Anderson. That was an in-person training, and that was great. So if you can arrange some in-person training, I think that's also wonderful. There's so much out there now in IFS. It's almost too much, right? Um, yeah, it's almost too much, but you have a lot to choose from, which is both good and bad. So find people that you resonate with. Like I like Frank Anderson and I like his stuff, so I went to that training. But there's a million IFS kind of people out there. So find who you vibe with and try some of their stuff. Yeah, good question. Yeah, I'll wait for the next question here. If you're enjoying this sort of content and you've been following along, by all means, do me a favor and share it with a friend or two. That's a really good way just to help me continue to grow our platforms. So we obviously have the audio version of the podcast every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any audio version, and then also on YouTube as well. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you are, and and following along and sharing. Leave a review, stuff like that goes a really long way in my world. So thanks in advance for that. I'll just wait here for the next question, and then we'll keep going. So something I would encourage everyone to do, and this is just a therapy thing, not an IFS thing, is really be thinking about the frame that you're holding with the work and with clients. If IFS is the frame you're holding, then hold that. And sometimes it can be helpful to just hold one frame at a time. So, for instance, like when I was learning somatic experiencing SE, well, I'm still learning it. Um, during the practice sessions for that, we would just do SE. That can be really handy just to go, okay, everything that's coming out of the client's mouth, I'm going to put it through the lens of SE. What would SE do? What would Peter Levine do? Right? Client says something, where do you feel that in your body? Is it hot, cold? Does it radiate? Does it stay where it is, etc.? And just really getting comfortable with that model, because that is what's going to help me eventually, whenever that may be able to integrate it into other models and work from a more integrative fashion, which is what many of us want to do and do naturally. But it takes time to be able to do that fluidly. Same thing for when I was, you know, working on integrating IFS and EMDR. I learned EMDR, 10 plus years ago. Um, but then integrating something like IFS into it or SE into it can take a little more time or be a little more delicate. And everything's going to feel more manual for a while. It's kind of like driving a car. You're going to think a lot about the position of your hands and the fact that your feet are doing something too. That's very normal for it to feel like a more manual process for a while until it becomes more automatic. So also go easy with yourself when you're learning new things, new models, new techniques, etc. Um, it's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel clunky. You're gonna miss things. You're gonna be in your head, and so you're gonna miss something a client said, whatever. This is normal. This is natural. In my experience, clients are a lot more forgiving than we fear them to be. There's a lot of pressure that therapists feel to be a certain way or get it right or like always be on or whatever. And I think a lot of that is, a little overinflated. Hopefully you all can't hear the table saw going absolutely nuts outside of my window. Um, that's pretty annoying. I don't know if you all can hear it, but it's just like comically starting during my live podcast because life is just like that. It's like that Alanis Morissette song. Okay, someone's saying they don't hear anything. That's good. Um, Other questions? I'm here. We've got a bunch of people that are here live, which is great. So let me know questions at large about whether it's about IFS, trauma, um, therapy at large, healing at large, business. I talk a lot about business, the business side of private practice. Some folks know I have that other platform called Private Practice Workshop. So, business questions are always fair game here too. All right. Another question here. Um, Ashley, thanks for being here. Yeah, thank you for your question earlier, and thanks for being here. Ashley says, when trying to engage with parts, how do you work with persistent, I don't know, or I'm not sure responses? This is a fantastic question. What this usually means, Ashley, is they're not really connected with a part. So they probably haven't really experienced real insight work yet. So what you want to do is go, um, so as you talk about that fight you had with your wife and you notice and you said you got really angry and you kind of lost your temper and you slammed the door, now you feel really bad about it, right? What do you notice inside as you think about that? Well, I feel like the anger in my chest. Okay, could you go toward it or put a hand there? And then I might slow down and use my language a little bit or use my tempo, almost hypnotic. As you connect there with your hand in your chest, can you just let that part with the anger know that you're here? Just see if that works. And if you do, see if you hear anything back, if you get anything back from that part. And just wait till you get an answer. Don't think, just listen. Don't think, just wait. Don't think, just feel or wait. So we're trying to get them out of their thinking brain because IFS is not a cognitive process. It's more like a trance-like state, I would argue, where we are getting information in a different way, in a pretty weird way, if you ask me. So people have to also be on board with the core concepts, which is like we're all multiple, we all have parts. We can talk to those parts, and those parts actually talk back if you wait long enough. And they have their own unique, sometimes very strong perspectives. And we can commune with them in this way if we slow down and we have self energy and we feel self energy toward them, right? Then sometimes we can get to a conversation with them. That inner critic part that's always like on your back, you can actually turn and get curious about it and get to know it. And when you talk to it, it might just talk back to you and you can have a conversation. That's really weird, but that's kind of what IFS, that's what insight is in my experience. So that's what takes therapy from traditional talk therapy and like what we think we know about the part and what I think I know, and that inner critic sounds like my dad and blah, 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 to making it relational. So if they say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, it means if they were kind of, saying stuff earlier, they were probably just guessing what they think the part would say or guessing how old they think the part is. So they weren't really doing real insight work, which is fine. They were just adjacent to it. But once they get it, once it clicks, you're off to the races because the work will really, kind of unfold at that point. Great question. Yeah. And really, really common. It's about 5 more minutes left if folks have more questions. So another question, speaking of private practice, what are some ways that you started to grow your private practice? What ways, like the 1 or 2 things that really helped? Yeah, so I've talked about this a lot on my other platforms, private practice workshop that I've done for, 10 years now. And some things that helped me were one of the biggest issues in private practice that I wanted to solve for was marketing. I figured if I could get clients consistently, then I knew I could do good work with them and deliver good results. So I can probably run a really good business and a really profitable business. And that was true. So I got really focused on marketing. I'm not big on things that I can't like control. So for instance, making social media content for a therapy practice, I don't do a lot of. I do it for this business because this is more of a global thing where I'm trying to reach practitioners and people interested in IFS and whatever. I'm not trying to build my private practice with this, But in my case, I focus pretty much everything on Google, local search, right? So in my case, I'm in San Francisco, so everything is focused on um, the 3 sections of Google: Google Ads, Google My Business, and SEO. Really, I'm big on Google Business, Google My Business, your listing, and SEO. I don't run ads anymore because they got too expensive, but a lot of SEO, a lot of Google Business stuff. And then building an email list, having an email list where you can stay top of mind to people all the time, that's a piece that most therapists really miss. So be building your email list and engaging it at least once a week. Lead generation and brand awareness. Lead generation is the SEO stuff. Brand awareness is your email list. Lisa says, do you have suggestions for giving clients homework to practice connecting with their parts outside of therapy? Yeah, it's a really great question. Part of it is like just creating that intention to turn inside and see what's here. A lot of times clients are only aware of their parts when they are activated and really blended with a part, right? Or something happens, in their week. That's always an opportunity to get to know the part, but at the same time, intentionally going inside and practicing getting to know parts or just practicing cultivating self-energy is, I think, a very good use of time outside of session. So you could have them kind of intentionally activate parts or go toward parts that they already know. You could have them use their parts map that we talked about earlier to see if they can connect with parts outside of session. You could have them do art or journaling or externalizing the parts in some way. Um, Maybe music, certain music helps connect with different parts or different parts like different music. On the other hand, you could just have them focusing on cultivating self-energy through being in nature, being in flow, being creative, connecting with people and places and animals, whatever it might be. And that's another way to also connect with parts, given that parts are attracted to self-energy. Yeah, it's a really good question. Lots of good meditations. I've got a bunch of IFS meditations on Insight Timer and also on this YouTube channel. So you could always send those to the clients, getting to know your parts on blending from parts, stuff like that. So those meditations can be helpful. Yeah. Again, just another quick plug for our program, Pathways to Self. If you're interested in deepening your work with the model, definitely think about joining our program, the weekly consultation group with me, community of like-minded practitioners, and lots of content and courses inside. All right. One more question, then I'll probably wrap up. The question is, I've done parts work as a client for almost 2 years and would love to be someone who can help others with this work. I don't have a master's and I'll be 70 soon. Can I train to be a coach of some kind? Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. You technically you call yourself a coach right now and do it. Would I recommend that? No, definitely not. Especially as, yeah, I definitely wouldn't. That being said, if you want to just if you want to learn the model, I would honestly recommend IFSCA's Stepping Stones. I just recommended this to a friend, so I can grab the link for you right now. They work with therapists and coaches, so I think it's a really good program. It's going to be a really ugly link here, but I don't know. Oh, that didn't even really work. So let's maybe delete that. All you want to do is Google IFSCA Stepping Stones. They actually have some new cohorts starting in January. So that's a great program to just jump into if you want to start learning the model. And if you get comfortable enough to use the model with others, great. Just work within your limits, really be cautious and mindful of that. You just want to really do no harm. So that's my main concern with folks jumping into it without a master's degree or a license where I'm liable to a board that is there to keep clients safe. And I think that's largely a good thing. But yeah, I'd probably start there. And then from there, you could get certified as a coach. My wife is a coach through a place called the Hudson Institute. So she's like an ICF certified coach. That took a few years to do. So yeah, you could get certified as a coach who uses IFS, or you could get trained in IFS and then call yourself an IFS coach or whatever. A lot of ways to come to the work. And in reality, I think a lot of what's going to help you do good, safe work is doing your own work and being as self-led as possible. So yeah, it's a good question. Um, okay. We'll kind of leave it there for now. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll be doing this every week at this hour. So if you want to be here next time or anytime, just add this to your calendar. Jump on YouTube and find me here on my channel and ask away. If you want to come on live with me, which I would love to get some free consulting, ask your questions, directly, that would be great. Just email support@johnclarketherapy.com and we can get you a link to join live next time. I would love to do more live consulting. It's a lot more fun for me. So either way, glad to have you all here and hope these answers were helpful to you and gave you something to think about. And yeah, take care of yourselves. And I really appreciate you supporting my work. So thanks for being here and keep in touch. See you, everyone. Thanks for listening to another episode of Going Inside. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and share your favorite episode with a friend. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok @JohnClarkeTherapy, and apply to work with me one-on-one at johnclarketherapy.com. See you next time.